And welcome back, everyone, to Who Would Win, the week Who Would Win, which will continue on until Wednesday when the month actually ends. This is one of those scenarios where I feel like these people might be the same person because they gave me the legitimate same suggestion, which isn't necessarily conducive, like just saying Batman fighting Superman. Is that mean they're the same person? No. But when you're asking for Freddy versus Jason versus Slenderman versus Jeff the Killer, that does make you question some things. But from Clone Trooper and Brandy Well, let's answer this question, or at least give my opinion on the question. So I've done mixes and matches of these characters multiple times. Jeff the Killer and Slenderman are from Creepypasta, Slenderpasta. And Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger are two horror icons that have been around since the 80s. Now, I've done almost every one of these characters multiple times. Jeff the Killer, if I remember correctly, is kind of just a psychotic, slightly enhanced human. I think he can't feel pain, or is that Tiki Toby's thing? I know he's highly like he's not. It's not like he can't feel pain. I think it's that he's highly resistant to pain. Let's see here, Jeff the Killer. Let's see here, Jeff the Killer, powers and abilities. Let's try that real quick. Now, if this is an all-out fight, yeah, like all I get is durability, strength, enhanced senses, stealth, stamina, killing intent, speed. He's not really all that. He's not powerful in this. Like he's just a slasher, is what he is. Now, apparently he has allegedly been in stories like The Proxy for Slenderman or whatever, but that means that Slenderman supersedes him. So, no. In fact, I'm going to spoil it right now. Jeff's the first one to go out in the fight. He's just kind of. The rest of these guys actually do have supernatural abilities to back them up. He doesn't really. At least not in most of the stuff I read. Now, that being said, Freddy being in the real world or Freddy being in the dream world, how are we going to work that out? Because Freddy honestly can't fight these guys, all of them simultaneously. You don't do group dreaming experiences usually in the dream world in these scenarios. Although, if I remember correctly, in Dream Warriors, they actually did do a group lucid dreaming session. So I guess that can work, but they would all have to be asleep. Jason doesn't normally sleep. We don't even know if the Slenderman can sleep. So just realistically, a dream world scenario can't happen here. So this has to be a scenario where Freddy's out in the real world. Jason, we know, is pretty much, depending on their version, either a revenant, a just very strong human, a cybernetic individual, or a deadite. Take your pick. But he is immensely strong, more or less impervious to pain, although he does react to being kicked in the balls. At least I think it's in Jason Goes to Hell. He does react to that. So he's not necessarily immune to pain. He just can sweat it off, no problem. Strong enough to throw grown men around, snap them in half, destroy heavy machinery. And then there's Slenderman, whose origin is and what he is to this day up for debate. Some think he's a demon, an alien, an interdimensional being, a tulpa being created from collective belief in it. Whatever he is deceptively strong. Despite his size, his thin frame, he's actually very strong, can take a hit. Does not like it when people actually confront him, though. It does piss him off. Can manipulate shadows to create tendrils, move very fast, almost like teleportation. Doesn't seem to be able to, doesn't have any discernible facial features, but still seems to be able to see you no problem. And is overall just a very scary and dangerous individual. So who wins in the overall fight? Well, again, in a scenario where somehow they've all been drawn to each other, that Jason just looks around, Freddy looks around, just like, ah! And Slenderman probably just maybe Jeff, who knows Slenderman, goes after Jason first while Freddy stacks up against Slenderman. Unfortunately for Freddy, he basically doesn't have any powers in the real world. I used to think he had some level of reality warping, but he actually doesn't. Where I got that idea was in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, where he possesses the kid. I thought he set a pool on fire, but that's actually not what happened. There was just like a spill of flammable chemicals and they lit, and the pool was on fire, and he's just like, "You're all my children now." So Yeah, he actually doesn't really have any powers in the real world. He is, though, deceptively strong for a guy his build, and he can take a lot of damage, as we saw in Freddy versus Jason. So it's not like he's a complete pushover, but I have been making that mistake over the years that he's got a level of power in the real world. He actually doesn't. So he'd probably just square off with Slenderman, who unfortunately, because that would, he would just grab him, just smack him around for a while. Maybe tried to induce madness on him, but it wouldn't really matter. Meanwhile, Jason, gets stabbed a couple times by Jeff before just grabbing him, just boom, just running him through. Jeff is, resistant enough to pain, like, yeah, oh, you son of a bitch, I'm gonna kill. And then Jason just shuts him up by snapping his neck, and that's the end of the game for Jeff. Meanwhile, Frank is throwing around, and just like, oh. The Slenderman just kind of like moving silently towards him. All of a sudden, he hears the shing of the machete and just has to dodge it. Maybe one of his tentacles gets hit and he screams, and whatever the scream would be. And Jason is like squaring off with him, just like trying to hit him, but the tentacles are also just kind of made of shadow. Yeah, they're a part of him, but he can just make more. Kind of starts to bind Jason up, but Jason has enough physical strength to kind of burst out of him a little bit, kind of bring Slenderman to him. Bring the machete down, but Slenderman's hand, Slenderman's stronger than he looks, grabs the hand, just kind of snaps it out of Jason's hand a little bit. And Jason's just fighting back. They're kind of struggling. Meanwhile, Freddy's just sitting, Freddy's getting is looking on, just, oh, I see. And, he grabs Jason the machete, and all of a sudden just runs the Slenderman and Jason through, as well as just grabbing the Slenderman by the throat, just raking him, just, and say, here, oh, welcome to my nightmare, bitch. Now, here's the problem. We don't know what type of durability Slenderman really has. Yes, Creepypasta has these stories and lore, but the problem is anyone can write on those. The only thing you can take out as fact on those things is the stuff that seems to be consistent. For example, someone disagreed with me when I did Joker versus Moon Knight earlier this week about the Joker not being the fighter. He's sometimes been depicted as a fighter. That's not consistency. If you're sometimes flying around, but most of the time, or if you're sometimes able to, see into the future, does that mean you automatically see into the future? No. If you're sometimes able to jump a foot over there, if you're sometimes able to sneak attack someone from behind, does that make you a martial artist? No. Just because the Joker has occasionally been depicted as being able to fight Batman does not actually mean he's a fighter. That's just the interpretation you get sometimes from. That doesn't mean he's helpless in hand to hand. And this kind of leans towards the Slender Man as well. But because we don't know what he really is, he might just be being made completely a shadow. But he does get pissed off if you attack him at all. I could see him not wanting to get hurt, and so when he gets hurt, he's legitimately in pain. I'll just, unfortunately, I don't think that would be enough to put Slender Man down, as the shadows then come grab you, Freddy, and just basically yank him apart, and just make him a stump, but with a head, so he's not dead yet. It's like, and then Jason comes in, just grabs the Slender Man, just tries to beat him, but the Slender Man just disappears. And then Jason just looks around, grabs the machete from the beaten arm, just skewers Freddy through the head, and just takes him out. Jason's looking around, and Slender Man reconstitutes. Maybe he's injured, maybe he just recovers, and then finally just basically kind of just nails Jason with like tentacles, just literally sticking them through his body, lifting him up. Jason tries to move. He also just gets ripped apart. So Jeff would be definitely the first one out. He'd be the most overzealous, certainly. But he's also the most squishiest of them, arguably. I then see Freddy because he just doesn't actually have any real power in the real world. But he's probably the most conniving of them, even Jeff. So while Slenderman and Jason are like duking it out, he maybe like goes for a discarded machete, which is better than his gloves. Tries to run them both through and like slit Slenderman's throat, but without understanding what Slenderman is, he doesn't realize that won't kill him, and then he gets torn apart. It would then come down to Jason and Slenderman, and both Jason's kind of nigh unkillable unless you nuke him or something like that. And then there's the curse of Voorhees and all that stupidness. But more to the point, it's about whether or not he just puts Jason down. And yeah, he'd put him down. Like again, he can literally just summon shadows, tentacles, all that, and just tear someone apart if he wants to. And so that's what he would do to Jason. And Jason, sadly, for all of his abilities, is not a thinker. He's very simplistic in how he thinks. So he's not much of a strategist, and unfortunately, he would not probably have the wherewithal to avoid this in time. Or have a counter for it, or try to counter it. So ultimately, I think the winner's Slenderman, personally. This, though, is just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.